All right, now to the mounting tensions in the Middle East, where Israel's Air Force struck Hezbollah military buildings and other terror targets Tuesday in southern Lebanon. This as Israel's Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, is in Washington, D.C. and met earlier today with U.S. counterpart Secretary Lloyd Austin, who told Gallant that he is in part, quote, extremely concerned about the rise in rocket attacks on Israel's north from Lebanese Hezbollah and the recent surge in tensions. And joining us now to talk more about the situation in the Middle East is Simone Leiden, former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East. Simone, good to see you again. A lot to get to. But first, let's talk about what's happening between Israel and the Iranian proxy Hezbollah. Some fear the fighting could escalate and actually turn into a full-scale war. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with those people. I think there is quite a high likelihood that these tensions will continue to escalate, and the potential for a full-blown war is increasing every day.
And the U.S. Has warned Hezbollah that it can't restrain Israel if this situation continues to heat up. Meanwhile, the terror group says that it's not going to agree to a ceasefire unless there's one in Gaza. And as we know, there hasn't been a resolution there yet. Simone, where do you think this is going?
Well, I think, frankly, I think it's a bit absurd to tie Hezbollah ceasefire to a Hamas ceasefire when it's obvious. It's just disingenuous because it's obvious there will not be a ceasefire with Hamas because Hamas is not giving up the hostages. Once again, as we've said many times, Hamas could end this war tomorrow by giving the hostages back, but they will not do that. And so the Israelis are pursuing this war until they get their hostages back. And so until that time, there is no ceasefire. So it's, again, disingenuous and means they don't really want a ceasefire. And in fact, we see that by the increase in rocket attacks in the north of Israel.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, back here in D.C., Secretary of Defense Austin met with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. What was your big takeaway from that meeting, and what does Israel hope to achieve?
Well, I thought the fact of the meeting was very important. I think it's important for Israel's enemies, who are also our enemies, by the way. It's important that they see the United States and Israel working together, talking together, and frankly, planning together. I think it's also important to note that our Secretary of Defense said that we would not be able to restrain Israel. I think the language on that is a little odd. I think the restraint should be coming from a terrorist group, not from a nation state that is obligated to defend itself and its citizens. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit different language coming out of the U.S. Secretary of Defense. But I still think the messaging and the visual of the two defense ministers together is an important one.
Yeah, and I quickly want to get to this. Secretary Austin mentioned to reporters that diplomacy is really the best way to prevent further escalation, something that Gallant said he was working closely with Austin on. Simone, how optimistic, though, are you that there will be a diplomatic resolution to this soon?
I think there's about a 0% chance there will be a diplomatic resolution to this, unfortunately. Brings me no joy to say that. I think in the past 3 years, the Biden administration has done everything possible to present a policy of appeasement to Iran and its proxies. And I think it's played out to the situation that we see today. So it has not only not worked, it has failed spectacularly. And we see ourselves in this situation due to this misguided approach, which they're still clinging to and is just taking us closer and closer to a big, big regional war.
Yeah, so concerning. Simone, so great to be with you. Thank you so much for your analysis. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.